We are back with some Dynasty sleepers that you need to stash before they break out. And we're here to talk about Calvin Austin with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Bloom, we've been waiting for Austin to do a little bit more. Still waiting on the quarterback situation as of this recording. But Calvin Austin's making noise in OTAs.
George Pickens' trade to Dallas creates a vacuum at the number 2 receiver for the Steelers, and Calvin Austin is ready to move into that. He's the fastest receiver that they have, and all the word out of OTAs is he's really handling himself like a veteran. He's kind of the old man of the wide receiver core as far as continuity with the team. He's got speed. We've seen it on short passes. We've seen it on deep balls. And whether it's Aaron Rodgers or Mason Rudolph, maybe Mason Rudolph is better. Remember that George Pickens actually had his best stretch as a Steeler, basically, with Mason Rudolph. So it might not be the worst thing if Aaron Rodgers ends up deciding, nah, I'd rather do something else than play for the Steelers this year. But Calvin Austin, this is a team that needs a deep threat that is going to punish defenses that pay too much attention to DK Metcalf. I don't want to say, Cease, that DK Metcalf is a $30+ million a year decoy, but if that ends up being the case, then Calvin Austin is the guy that could break out.
Calvin Austin is the guy to break out, and he's got that talent. And it'd be nice to see the connection with a quarterback, but the connection with a quarterback in Washington, they've got their guy in Jayden Daniels, and Jaylen Lane is making some noise there in OTAs as well. So you're looking at wide receivers. Jaylen Lane is a player to be considering here.
Yeah, and we see Cease when we see the item, and this is what we're seeing about Jaylen Lane in OTAs, that he's going to force Washington to give him a role as a rookie. That just observers are seeing how fast and quick he is. And this is a guy that, from a measurable standpoint, looks like Tyreek Hill. From a measurable standpoint, I'm not saying that the film looks like Tyreek Hill, but when you think about Washington's offense, even what Terry McLaurin can do deep, and you have Deebo Samuel, who can do a lot of damage closer to the line of scrimmage, run after catch, manufacture touches. And then you add in a speed element, and you think, okay, we're going to have mismatches. We're going to be able to get Jaylen Lane on somebody that can't stick with him, both in terms of quickness or speed. So you have that extra vertical element for this offense. That could be something very dangerous. And see, so I think the background here, 2 players, 2 items out of OTAs. Not all OTA news is created equal, but when we hear a player is handling himself like a veteran, or we hear a rookie is going to force the team to find a role for him, we need to pay attention. Jaylen Lane is falling to the 4th, 5th round of rookie drafts, and he's with one of the best young quarterbacks in the league in an offense where the top 2 receivers are in the back 9 of their career.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. A great young quarterback and then old talent around him. Like, I prefer, and we will get to one super deep sleeper, but I prefer the young talent around Bo Nix more than the old talent around Jayden Daniels. So Jaylen Lane can change that narrative with that speed and skill set.
Yeah, and really what's exciting about Lane is that because that old talent is there, he's going to be an afterthought, but that speed and that quickness very quickly will make him a priority for defenses and for the offense to make a role for him.
Well, let's talk about another Jaylen Wright in Miami. Again, a player that we've been interested in, been waiting on, and turning heads this late spring, early summer.
Yeah, another piece of OTA news, but also somebody that post-hype, that phrase term is thrown around a lot about players. At this time last year, whenever Miami basically spent a 3rd-round pick to get him, a future 3rd-round pick to get Jaylen Wright, this was a running game that produced 2 running back ones in Raheem Mostert and Devin Achane. And we thought, well, that's Jaylen Wright is just going to slide right into that. Now, this running game might not produce 2 running back ones, but it is a running game that has a role for 2 running backs. And it sounds like Jaylen Wright, and we're always watching this. I talked about this with Heath Cummings on the couch this week. As we should be, we just talked about Jaylen Wright. We're focused on rookies. We're focused on first impressions with rookies right now. But the real discount in dynasty leagues are 2nd-year players, and people move on from these players maybe too quickly. So Jaylen Wright didn't exactly pop in his rookie work, but that running game wasn't exactly clicking. Now you have Jaylen Wright. All reports are in his second year. He looks ready to be that running mate to Devin Achane, and also has some big upside. I mean, he has the straight line speed. He has a more well-rounded skill set now, maybe a little more physically formidable than Achane. And if all of these touches that are piling up on Achane's smallish frame end up sidelining him, Jaylen Wright, an afterthought right now in Dynasty and redraft, could be a very important player in fantasy football in 2025.
Do you believe the Germaine Burton hype? I mean, it's always been there, right? It's always been there. And you're hearing comments this offseason like, oh, no, now it's going to happen with Germaine Burton. All right. Well, we were waiting last year and we didn't see enough. And you had, like information about, oh, is he not focused or dialed in enough? Now the report saying Germaine Burton turning over a new leaf? Question mark.
Right.
Attacked practice the right way is what Zach Taylor has said earlier this offseason. Joe Burrow says that he's matured and he's good to spot mentally and physically. That is from his quarterback. Pretty damn good quarterback. So the talent, yeah. Germaine Burton's got talent. But does it come together? Because when it does, and again, buried a little bit in Cincinnati, but that talent comes together with that quarterback. Look out.
Yeah, that's the thing, is we're seeing just add water fantasy value from wide receiver situation here with Joe Burrow and this high volume pass offense. And the most important thing, Cease, when you connect the dots of all those items, is that they're giving him another chance. They're giving him a chance. They're letting him redeem himself if he's up to that. And look, also there's some hype coming out of Bengals OTAs about Andre Yoshevus. And Yoshevus is certainly one to watch because remember, Yoshevus coming out of the Ivy League had the measurables of a number one receiver, kind of like Isaac Tesla, had the measurables of a number one receiver, but didn't have the experience. So that, it makes sense that we're really going to see the real Yoshevus coming into a third or fourth year of his rookie contract. But Germaine Burton was already there at Georgia and Alabama. He was already there against future NFL corners. It was the work ethic. It was the dedication. Now, the teammates are saying the right things. Burton is saying the right things. It's going to be really interesting to watch Burton and Yoshevus competing for the number 3 snaps because T. Higgins missed a lot of games last year. And if Higgins misses games this year, Yoshevus might be ready to take advantage of that opportunity. And we already know that Burton can on the field if he can get trust off the field.
Let's talk about Arryn Smith with the Jets and what's going on there. The wide receiver core a little bit banged up. Garrett Wilson looking forward to a big year and big money soon to follow. But let's go. Arryn Smith, the former Georgia product.
Yeah, we're going to see with the Jets now. Justin Fields should support Garrett Wilson, his former college teammate's value. Can he support a second target in this offense? Mason Taylor, Xavier Gibson, Malachi Corley. There's some second-year post-hype guy. But what about Arryn Smith? Sort of similar to Jaylen Wright. I think he was a fourth-round pick also. And the book on Arryn Smith was, again, quickness, speed there. Actually catching the ball, actually finishing the play, inconsistent. But much like Lane, in OTAs, and this is where a guy should stand out. Maybe there's a Josh Norris, don't count it twice. Like that's why he got picked in the 4th round, even though he didn't have the best tape, was the speed and quickness. But we hear already out of Jets OTAs, wow, does Arryn Smith pop? Does he stand out? So I think what you're going to see is that opportunity to show that he can tighten up the catch point skills and actually execute to harvest all of that raw speed and quickness he offers. And Tanner Engstrand, the new offensive coordinator in New York, coming from the Lions, I think, see, if you were going to make a pass offense around Justin Fields, it should be kind of like the Anthony Richardson pass offense. Maybe you only throw 15 times a game, but most of those throws are big downfield chunk play shots. And that sounds to me like Arryn Smith could have a pretty big role right away if he can prove that he can actually catch the ball.
Yeah, and see where the coverage rolls over to Wilson, leaving things open for Smith potentially on those deep shots. I like that idea. And I curse the AFC West gods, if there are such a thing. I don't think we've ever talked about those guys. But when the NFL allows the Chiefs to take Bashard Smith, because you don't take Bashard Smith until the 7th round because, well, you're not paying attention. to the converted wide receiver, now running back, now weapon, now drawing Alvin Kamara comparisons. And they're true. Now, Pacheco's motivated. Pacheco's back up at his weight, but he is about T-minus 3 months from getting banged up. So, and I love Pacheco, another 7th-round pick who made some fantasy noise. Bashard Smith is a different type of runner because he is a converted receiver, but my God, the skill set they're in and the reports out of Kansas City are this guy can play.
Yeah, that they're going to have a role for him. I mean, that this is a guy that, remember, and why I love Bashard Smith is that you have a similar player already in Jerick McKinnon that really had an excellent role in this offense late in his career when all of his juice was already used up. Now what happens when you have, remember, Bashard Smith, a converted wide receiver, so you know what he can do in the passing game. You can go back and watch him at SMU. He has downfield chops, route running chops, contested catch, point, drops, not drops. Oh, that's a Freudian slip. I'm thinking about Arryn Smith. Chops. And he also is a developing runner. Look, whenever Ryan Nutt, the Chiefs director of player personnel, was asked about Smith, he said, we had him higher on our board than where we took him. That's when you start to consider trading. They traded up for him. When a guy's there, you have higher on your board, and we would give up peanuts compared to what we think we'll get. Our coaches are super excited about the kid. They will find ways to get this kid on the field, whether it's in a 3rd down role, an all down role, whatever they decide the kid will play. Whoa. That's the director of player personnel. Okay. That's not an anonymous scout. Okay. That's not a beat writer. So the other thing that when I think about this season, and I think about this with Jacory Krosky-Merritt in Washington, okay, is just
Love him.
You think about OTAs, you think about practices. When you think about one after another, who's going to stand out? Who's going to stand out going through these reps? Kareem Hunt, maybe Elijah Mitchell in a straight line. Who's going to stand out in Washington? Brian Robinson and Chris Rodriguez. Austin Eckler is still okay. So these running backs, 7th round, I don't care. And good organizations, and Adam Peters in Washington, Brett Veach in Kansas City, they're good organizations. They don't care that they were 7th round picks. And Kansas City is telling us we didn't have him as a 7th round pick. We had him as a much better player than a 7th round pick. He can produce. He needs to be a player on your list of targets.
Stupid NFL. Like, what a combination. Bashard Smith with the Chiefs. Stupid NFL. Final one is a little bit of the lemon twist, Sigmund, because we're going to be the first show ever to talk about Weaqen Davis from Denver, North Carolina Central. If you happen to remember when the HBCU combine happened and he tore it up.
Yes.
Like, tore it up. I was out at rookie minicamp and with our dear friend and Audible alum, Andrew Mason. We're watching practice, and it's one of those joyous moments where he comes over to me, and it was like, you got chocolate in my peanut butter. You got peanut butter in my chocolate. Like, it was one of those type of moments. And we both looked at each other and we said, Weaqen Davis. Well, that was rookie minicamp. Okay, whatever. Undrafted rookie minicamp and 6'4", 195 and freak. 6'4", 195 freak wide receiver. Then I'm happy to report at the first week of Broncos OTAs and recording the morning of the second week of Broncos OTAs, Davis did it again. And this is against the veterans. So, and Sean Payton during this time of year, he lets the 7th rounders and undrafted guys play with the first team. He just lets you play. You're just taking reps. So again, Bloom, super deep, super crazy. No one else is going to be talking about Weaqen Davis, but I'm glad we are because there's something there with this kid.
Yeah, and what it signifies is once we start to hear that buzz, the drum beat, a wise football sage I know, once you hear that first on the drum beat, listen for more. And with Weaqen Davis, like you said, he's got a long frame, but he's got sub 4.4 speed. He's also got explosiveness, like a 42-inch vertical. What we like about Weaqen Davis, and what's going to be really interesting as our guy on the scene, Cecil Lammey in Denver, in Dove Valley, will be reporting is, can he make the team? Darren Rizzi loves this guy. He's going to be a gunner, okay? He's going to make the roster on his special teams value and then have an opportunity to show, maybe he has more to offer in the long term than Troy Franklin. I don't know. We'll see. He's going to get that opportunity to show that with the kind of measurables that make the NFL drool and have the kind of impact later on that we'll look back and say, yeah, that first rookie OTA, that was when we should have known that there was more there than a typical undrafted free agent.
It would make us very happy if you helped us out on our YouTube channel. So make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell so that you never miss a vid. He is Sigmund Bloom. You follow him on all the socials at Sigmund Bloom. The show is at The Audible. I'm at Cecil Lammey saying thanks for watching, everyone. Stay tuned. And would you please, as always, stay frosty,